3 years ago, I quit my job as a medical doctor to become a full-time YouTuber. It was a huge risk, but 3 years later, we grew a YouTube channel to over 1.3 million subscribers. And now in 2025, I am stepping away from that channel too. I had built this business that I hated being in. I want to talk about in this video why I'm abandoning that YouTube channel. And I think that a lot of things I share in this video will be very relevant for creators because I made a ton of mistakes and I don't want you to do the same thing. But to really understand why this happened, we have to go back to the first pivotal big decision that I made, which was quitting my job as a medical doctor. So 3 years ago, 2022, I decided to leave my job as a medical doctor because I wanted more freedom. On paper, being a doctor to me sounded really, really cool. I get to call myself a doctor. I'd be seeing patients and saving lives and stuff. But I think a lot of young people forget that what your imagination about what you're gonna be doing versus the day-to-day of what you're actually doing, there's a huge disconnect there. I saw the future. I'm like, this is not the lifestyle that I want to live very much. As a creative outlet on the side, started a YouTube channel with my brother, Mike. This was at the very, very beginning of the pandemic. I don't know if I should be sharing this, but the last 6 months of med school, I just went home to California and took online courses and did research just so I can work on YouTube and be close to Mike. And that was all I was focused on, all day, every day. By the end of med school, our YouTube channel that we had been building had generated the equivalent amount of money that I might have made as a resident doctor my first year. That was all from side hustling. What would happen if I just went all in on it? So after I quit medicine, I went all in on building this YouTube channel called Koi. At the time, when I started this channel, I was in medical school. The content that I created was all about being a student. We made study videos, we made productivity videos, we made how to get better grades. The funny thing is that the moment that I left medicine, I was no longer a student. My brother, who's 5 years older than me, he hadn't been a student for 6 years. I was in my late 20s, Mike was in his early 30s, and we were making videos about how to study. I was solving a problem that I didn't have anymore. That just felt so inauthentic to me. And I think people could tell in the content because when I was a student, a few years ago, ChatGPT wasn't a thing yet. It didn't exist. The way that I studied back then, I don't think anyone should be studying that way anymore because we have all these new tools at our disposal. And if those are there, I can't speak to those problems the same way because I'm not using AI to study anymore. I'm using AI to learn and build my business. I can try to learn these AI systems and help students, but it's I'm not even there anymore. I don't have any more exams to take. I don't have any more boards to study for. And I guess this is another side note in terms of inauthenticness. It felt really weird to be helping students get better grades when I quit school. I don't believe that you should study to get better grades anymore. I think that you should learn how to get better skills so that you can use those skills. But getting a grade doesn't really equate to skills. The longer we kept going in Koi's channel, our views started dropping because the alignment of what I was talking about didn't come through. And this is definitely true for a lot of creators. A creator's relevancy doesn't last forever. And it requires them to reinvent themselves and start a new channel, start a new project, or start a new business, or they just have to build a brand or a business around that problem and then remove themselves from it. And I think that's kind of what we tried to do. We removed Mike and Matty from Koi for a bit. We rebranded the channel. We turned it into Cajun Koi Academy. We tried to build this world for students because we couldn't relate to them anymore. There's this famous line that Michael Siebel from Y Combinator says.
One of the things that I do see is that a lot of startups that fail because they lose motivation to continue working. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they actually didn't really like the problem they were working on in the beginning.
I think that both Mike and I realized we had built a business that we just didn't enjoy and we didn't want to be in. We had this channel of over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. We had built digital products behind it. By all textbook standards or something, we should be making so much more money than we actually were. But it was because of the fact that we were in the student space that wasn't happening. I know it's not supposed to be all about money, but a big decision for why we're making this pivot is that we need to be able to financially support ourselves and our team and do it in a way that feels ethically right. This is no knock on students or anything, but being in the student space is super hard because students are poor. They have no money. As much as possible, as much as we could, we tried to make everything that we did free, right? 90% of what Mike and Matty and Koi did is free. All of our YouTube videos, we have free Notion templates, we have free resources, we have free quizzes and assessments, and a very small part of people would actually pay for our products, which is StudyQuest, this learning skills program where we have mentors and coaches come in, and other higher end Notion products. But even those products that we had, they're low ticket. People spend more on dinner than what it costs to buy our programs. Our programs are $30 a month. In an ideal world, I would love to make everything I did for these students students free, but there has to be a way that I can make money at the same time. In order to play that game, the only way to do it is just mass volume. And that game to me felt like a hamster wheel. I just had to keep making videos. I basically turned content creation into like another 9-to-5 job where I was just trying to get views, trying to get sponsors and brand deals to support that business to help students for free. That wasn't a game that I wanted to play. We had to take a look at the current business, right? Because I was working nonstop. I was probably working more hours a week than I would have as a resident doctor, and the business just wasn't growing. We got to like 1 million subscribers in 2 years. That's really fast. And all that time we have these new eyeballs coming in, and that exponential growth was coming in, so we're getting more money. And then during that time, we're like, oh shit, like we have all of this new attention, and we have all these new subscribers, and brand deals are just flowing in. And so we thought naturally that that was going to continue forever. And so what we did was we hired a whole bunch of people onto our team, and this is just like classic entrepreneur rookie mistake. We were working with like 16 contractors. We had like 3 full-time employees. We were working with like an agency to help us on Instagram, on TikTok, and all these other things. And I basically became a manager, and I hated it. I was no longer just creating content. Like half of my days was just like meetings with these individual contractors, helping people do the things that I was supposed to be doing. I just felt suffocated in my own business. That went on for like 4 or 5 months of just like trying to scale the way we thought we were supposed to. And then after looking at like, I think it was like Q3's income and our P&L, our profit and losses, like our business had actually not grown at all. And we're just like, there is something fundamentally wrong here. Your exponential growth on YouTube doesn't last forever, right? You don't just keep growing. Once the growth plateaued, that meant revenue also dropped. But we had hired more people. Now our margins were even worse too. And so there was a point where it was like the income that we were making versus how much we were spending started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then we were like, oh shit, our business is basically dying. Yeah, I mean, and we made some huge mistakes at the same time. We thought like during the exponential growth that we should be building like a website. This is like the biggest mistake that we've ever made. I think we invested in 2023 over $150,000 into building CajunKoi.com, which in our minds was going to be like this platform for students to come. We were going to host our courses there. We were going to create these like avatar generators and this whole story and this like video game like experience. I don't know why we thought that you can do that for 150K when after we had started that project already, I think I talked to some of like my other friends who were like developers and stuff. People pay millions of dollars to build like those types of websites. We had just built a very bloated, messy, chaotic business solving a problem at the end of the day that I wasn't passionate about anymore. That's not a sustainable way to build a business. You have to love what you're doing, to love the problem that you're solving, and be able to do it for years. Over the past 6 months, this was like probably one of the saddest and hardest things I had to do. I had to let go of basically my entire team. We trimmed the whole team down to just 3 people, Mike, myself, and then Francie, who's our product manager. We shut down the website too, which was a huge lesson in itself. So CajunKoi.com is no longer a thing. Unfortunately, you can't go there anymore. And we moved over to Circle, which is another community platform. Don't try to build things that someone else has already built really well when you can just work together instead. But yeah, we just trimmed all the fat, we cut everyone out, we stabilized Koi as a business so that we could pursue something different. And so for the past 6 months, Mike and I have been like testing new offers about what we wanted to do instead. We ran little cohorts with like small like alpha groups, beta groups, just like emailing our audience, like emailing our community that we currently had to see like what other problems can we help them solve that are more aligned with where we are right now. We were kind of lucky. We weren't actually starting from scratch because we had already built this big audience in our newsletter. I think it was like over 150,000 readers. And so the first place that we started was, okay, we have this big traffic source already. Can we just find a niche in our community that would have the problem that we want to solve? We've done a lot of surveys in our own community. We started doing outreach. We started getting on phone calls and talking to people who we already were serving before to see if there was another problem that we could help them solve. We're just narrowing the spotlight a little bit more fine until we found like a very perfect type of person that we could help. And that ended up being for us just perfect synergy with who we were as people. Mike and I are both doctors. And so we're like, okay, client work makes the most sense for us since a doctor and a patient that relationship is a client relationship. Second thing is that we had grown a YouTube channel to over 1.3 million subscribers. And so helping them with YouTube also makes sense. We know how to make great content. We know how to build the systems around a YouTube channel. Number 3 is that with Koi, we built this program called Study Quest. And so we also knew how to build learning programs and we knew how to learn and teach really well. And a 4th pillar, if anything, is that I am obsessed with productivity tools and AI tools, AI systems. And so any business that is tech savvy, they want to leverage AI in their business, they want to educate, they want to grow on YouTube. We are like the perfect fit to help them build what they want to build. We were starting over, but we had all of these like little skills that we'd picked up along the way that made us like the most perfect fit to help creators or creative brands build YouTube channels, tell their story through education. That was like the unlock moment that we had. All the things that we've done have led us to finding this exact, very, very specific problem that we can solve. And there's just been such a difference in this new offer versus the offer from Koi, in that when I'm pitching this offer, people are like excited to pay us money. They like want to do whatever they can. They like move mountains around to work with us because we can help them solve that problem. But we don't want to make the same mistakes that we made with Koi. We want to build the business the right way. We want to focus on the right things at the right time. And I also want to share what all of those steps are and those lessons are along the way on this channel. First things first, we're going to not bloat ourselves. We're gonna stay as lean as possible for as long as possible. That means like fully understanding what are all the key tasks and systems that we need to build out in our business, build them to the best of our ability, and then only hire someone once those things make themselves clear. And we're gonna leverage the shit out of AI to make sure that we can stay as lean as possible and accelerate each individual person, each little cog in the business. Second, we're only gonna focus on one offer at a time, because that was another huge mistake I made at Koi. We built like 4 or 5 products. And when you have multiple products, you need someone to manage each of those products and keep improving on each of those products. You also have to market each of those products. Alex Ramosi has this great quote: just do one product, one avatar, one channel, just to keep it simple. And we're gonna really lean into that advice here. And we're just gonna focus on this one core offer that we have and just do it really, really freaking good, and see how far we can get with it. And then number 3 is just focusing on one type of platform. So YouTube is our main focus here. We're gonna be focusing on ourselves growing on YouTube and helping brands grow on YouTube. We're not gonna promise that we can do like TikTok, Instagram, any other platform. We're just gonna figure out YouTube, get really good at it. And then once we have that system down, start branching out. And we're not gonna build a website. And I think if we just focus on those key things in our business, we're gonna be able to help elevate brands to make the best content possible. Because right now, I truly believe that in 2025 and for the next 5, 10, who knows, actually for the rest of human history and mankind, content is going to become the most important asset for every business. People are chronically online, more so than they've ever been. Screen times for myself even is like 10 hours a day. Not that I'm scrolling content, but I'm just like on screens. The world is moving towards content. Education is moving to content. 50% of Gen Z people say they go to YouTube to learn stuff. Crazy trends like TikTok shop blowing up, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, YouTube content. Everyone is going online to buy things, and no one wants to go to the physical store anymore. Great content is the gateway to pretty much everything in life right now. It's kind of crazy. The ability to make good content is what I firmly believe is the most important skill for the future. And if you can make good content, you will never go jobless. Whatever kind of content that is, whether that's writing content for LinkedIn or on X, whether that's creating carousels and cool images on Instagram, whether that's making videos on TikTok, whether that's making long form videos on YouTube, podcasts on YouTube. If you can make good content and get views and convert those views for the right viewers, you will never go jobless. You will always find a job working for a company or helping another brand, because all eyes are there right now. Every business wants to get into media. Every business wants to use AI to leverage their media, and they can do it without spending millions and billions of dollars. Hollywood used to cost billions to make movies. There are YouTubers who are filming stuff on their iPhone and getting millions of views, and a brand will pay them an absurd amount of money if they can replicate that in their own business. Social media has democratized education and the ability to become self-reliant. So if you're feeling lost right now, or you want to start over, you want to start something new, learn how to make content. I think making content will be the gateway into everything that you actually want. All that to say, we are closing the chapter on Koi. It feels good to finally move on, clean the slate, and go all in on Mike and Matty right now. I am so excited to start making more content, helping brands make content, and then sharing all that along the way. And I hope you'll come along with me.